All right, well, welcome to the Viking Press Pass. I'm Matthew Nickel, and joining me today from the softball team, Junior Emily Gad. So, Emily, thanks for connecting me with me here at Monday night.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know we've been trying to connect for a little while now, and but you guys had to go take a trip to Florida and spend a bunch of time at the beach and do all the fun stuff.
Yeah,
So, that's okay, I suppose. So, um, but yeah, you guys have been some road warriors the last probably 8 or 9 days. Quite a bit of windshield time. Um, so I figured what we can do. Let's talk through that stretch a little bit. I'm a very chronological person, so let's maybe talk through that a little bit, and kind of let everybody know what you guys have been up to. All right, so the Vikings traveled down to Lebanon, Tennessee, played Cumberland.
mhm.
You split the series. First and only loss of the season, but just kind of share your thoughts. Going down to Tennessee and on that doubleheader with Cumberland.
Honestly, I was really excited to go down to Tennessee. We played Cumberland last year, so we knew a little bit what to expect. Not 100%, obviously, because people graduate, things change, but we knew they were a really good team and we really had to bring our A game. Because last year we lost them and we lost them pretty hard. So coming into this year, we knew that we had to show up and kind of show out. And the first game, it kind of took us a little bit to get there. But once we hit that second game, we really hit the ground running, and we knew that we wanted to win. So
Well, I was able to watch a bit of the first game, but not much of the second game. What was really different about game two versus game one?
I think a little bit of it was some of that pressure of being undefeated and then coming in and playing this team that we knew was going to be super good. I think a lot of us on the team were really kind of high stakes because we knew this team was good. And you don't want to be like on the team that no one wants to take their first loss after being undefeated. So playing kind of high stress. Plus, we had just been on a bus for like 8 hours. It kind of takes a toll a little bit. I think we were all kind of just a little bit tired. Um, I think that kind of affected us for that first game, but after that, and it wasn't like we totally lost by like a long shot. It was just a one-run
Mhm.
game.
Yeah,
So once we had that game under our belt, first loss, it wasn't a conference loss. We were able to relieve some of that pressure. We knew what we needed to do, and then we were able to really compete with that team and play a really good game of softball.
absolutely. Well, I mean, you get a chance to kind of settle in a little bit, which is nice, and some of those nerves get, they just kind of release and they go away, and next thing you know, you're just playing softball, and but Coach Nelson and staff, it's like they're not shying away from playing a tough schedule this year. I
Not at
mean,
all.
you're supposed to be playing Wisconsin Platteville tomorrow, but that got pushed out, and it's like you're gonna play Buena Vista, then it's like we're hosting, Whitewater, on Friday at home. So now, how are how are the field and the facilities? Because as I was looking at the backdrop, I mean, a couple of rows, it was like some stadium seating. It looks super nice. I poked my head over to the baseball broadcast before your game came on. I think they were playing like Bethel, I think, but just in general, it looked like their field, their facilities looked really nice. What were your thoughts, just on kind of their facilities
Cumberland's
and Cumberland's?
facilities?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're really nice. You show up to this campus in Tennessee, you get off the bus and it's just like it's gorgeous. The school is, and you pull up to this field and it's stadium seating all around you, and there's this like I don't know how to describe it. It's like picnic tables like in the back. So there's a ton of seating out there in center field. The dugouts, like there's this big giant bench in there. So you go there and it's a field that you want to play some good games on. Like you go there and you're like, yeah, I'm excited to play softball.
Yeah. Now, was it a synthetic field?
No, the one weird thing about it, not to rip on the Cumberland field because it is very nice. The lines, the two foul lines, those are turf. The rest of it's dirt and grass.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of weird to run down to first base just because you had to either be on the grass or on the turf, and it like kind of tripped a few people up, I think.
I mean, I mean, that would feel a little weird just footing wise. I mean, they feel different,
Yeah.
entirely. So, because when I talk to some of the baseball guys, that's one thing that, they really like, especially when they're playing at home, out of conference games. A lot of times the teams that are coming in, they have, synthetic fields and they come to ours and it's like playing on a, natural grass. It's like, we see a lot of errors, especially a lot of errors down at, third base. Um, when they're coming to visit, Bruner Field. So, yeah, so I wasn't quite sure, when I was poking my head over it, if it was, completely natural. Like I got some mixed vibes, so I wasn't entirely sure. So, um,
Yeah, I the first time we saw it, I was not expecting it at all.
now, so what the team do Saturday night then? Because I know that's what is that east of Nashville? Is that right? Think
Um,
so.
Cumberland? Yeah, I think it's like an hour away from Nashville almost.
So I know, that's where you and I were, trying to connect around, coming back and
Yeah.
didn't realize that the team was, taking a bus down to Florida. Because you guys had a host of JV games, but um, what'd you guys do Saturday night? Did you stay, in Lebanon and then leave like, Sunday morning, or what was your
Oh,
schedule like?
we left from the games. We got Whataburger for dinner, and then we drove to Atlanta.
Okay.
And then we stayed in Atlanta overnight, and then Sunday morning is when we left for Florida.
Okay. All right. Got
Yeah, a
it.
lot of traveling.
Nice. Yeah, sounds like it. My lord. Um, well, nice. So coming out of that Cumberland game, that Cumberland series, I should say, the doubleheader. What were just some of the messages from Coach Nelson and the staff around what the focus was going to be, as you were heading down to Florida?
Um, I think one of our big focuses was really being more aggressive as a team because we have had so many wins under our belt and we had been coming off of no losses up until we played Cumberland. It gets really easy for us to kind of fall into like well, we've just won 5, 6 games in a row. We don't really need to worry. And then we started to get a little bit passive. So the good thing about the loss was that it was a wake up call to us to be more aggressive and to not, play down or up to any level or not look at anybody's stats and think, oh, we're automatically going to lose or oh, we're automatically going to walk all over this team. We really need to show up to every game with the same intensity, the same drive, the same level of aggression, no matter what anybody else around us is saying, no matter what the stats are saying. Just show up, be aggressive, and really have the want to win and never let up. No matter we could be winning 12-0, we could be losing 12-0. Just keep being aggressive in your at bats, keep giving it all out on the field, keep being loud in the dugout. I think that was the big message that we wanted to take with us throughout spring break. And we had our moments here and there, but I think for the most part we really stuck to it and we're a lot better than we were before spring break.
Yeah. Well, it's also just nice just to look, get the monkey off your back a little bit, right? It's like, right, you got the loss out of the way. Fine, take it. Now
Yeah.
you don't have to think about it, right? So, it's the other side of the coin around like, you're thinking so much about. I was actually just watching a clip on X, and it was talking about, like it's like mental preparation, and it's like if you continue to think about being mentally prepared to like not lose, then your body's going to react around like losing, like it's going to prepare itself to lose as opposed to, mentally preparing yourself to constantly think about winning because then your body's going to follow what, obviously what your mindset is. So, it's like those little kind of small things around, that inadvertently, um, can kind of steer things, right, wrong, or indifferent. Um, but it's past it, so that's great. I mean, you guys are nine and
Yeah.
one, kicking butt. At the end of the day, but let's talk about the Florida trip. 'Cause I mean, it was nice to see there's a heavy dose of JV games. I was just looking at the schedule and some of the teams. It's like Monday was a doubleheader versus the New College of Florida. They were in NAIA school. JV teams, split that. On Tuesday was Pasco Hernando, D2 JUCO, split those. I mean, how beneficial was it just for the team to get in a bunch of JV games, during that week, um, in between, obviously Cumberland and um, heading down to Warner.
I think it was like incredibly beneficial for us because it allowed us to see some of the areas that we needed to work on, whether it be hitting or fielding or getting a bunt down or seeing signs, all these things. We were able to see the areas that we needed to improve on in a situation that was a lot more low stress than, say, a CCIW conference game. And and they were a lot less stressful too, just because we all knew that these are just JV games. They're not going to go on our record. It's not going to affect our ranking. Milliken isn't going to see that we split with the New College of Florida and use that against us. It was really an opportunity for us to see what we need to work on, but also still, allow us to have fun and team bond and, you know, bond together as a team. Some of the loudest games that I've ever played in my like 20 years of playing softball, the loudest dugout I've ever been in was at some of these games that we just played this past weekend. And the dugout was rocking, the teams, we were doing great, hitting like crazy, fielding like crazy, making crazy plays. It was a lot of fun too.
Now, how did the rotations work for those JV games? Um, I mean, there was a total of 4 games, and it's like where a lot of the starters playing like a couple of innings, and then playing a lot of like freshman, sophomore folks that don't play as much. Like, how did that typically how that rotation kind of work?
I think it was mostly the people who don't see a lot of varsity time. It's like from the past year with John and then from the few games that we have had, it's more consistently the people who haven't seen a lot of varsity time and then a few of the varsity starters getting a few like games or innings sprinkled in there. I know John is trying to be really cognizant of how many games varsity players have been in because we're only allowed to be in a certain amount of games.
Mm, okay.
So he was trying to be aware of that while also still letting some of the varsity players, see different pitchers and get more innings in and balancing that with the girls who haven't seen that many varsity games yet. So it was a little bit all over the place, but it was definitely strategic.
Now, when you look at New College of Florida, Pasco Hernando, I mean, how did that level of talent compare to, the Division 3 and the CCIW and the teams you've played? Because you think about NAIA, sometimes that's so hard. It's like, how do they compare? But then you look at like a D1, D2 JUCO, depending on kind of where they're at. How did the level of like competition and skill kind of compare?
It kind of depended on, honestly, sometimes even inning to inning, but mostly game to game. The biggest difference I noticed was the pitching. CCIW, we have some great pitchers with some like crazy movement, crazy speed. But some of these schools that we played, it was just slower, not as much movement, pretty flat. So that was an adjustment that we had to make, and it was something different. Um, and then there were a few where like some girls just like would run in on a fly ball instead of first step back. So I wouldn't say the competition was CCIW like our standard of playing, but there was some definite talent out there. Like we played some pitchers, some of those changeups, man, I was whiffing like crazy. Um, so it just kind of depended game to game, I would say.
Do you find like you brought up a point you're talking about like some slower pitching in what I had known as just calling the baseball games for the last 4 or 5 years is I always noticed that the baseball team always seems to do better against the aces of the other teams because they're throwing harder. And when they get further down in that rotation, you know 70s, low 80s, maybe not as hard of throwers. They seem like it changes their rhythm a little bit. Do you notice that, from your end as well?
100%. Yes. I think in practice and in games we're so focused on hitting these girls who are pitching in like, the mid 60s, and they're like they got a killer rise ball and they're just pitching it right down the middle and it's so fast you can't even touch it. So we focus so much on hitting that fast pitching that when it comes time to you see a girl who's pitching low 50s or something super slow, it just completely throws you for a loop and you have to rethink everything. Personally, when I like that throws me off really bad. So when I see a slower pitcher, it's like you're so used to being go 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 that when you see something so slow, you have to take a step back, and it takes some time to adjust for sure, but it throws off that rhythm fully.
So speed wise, what do you typically say is the average, um, average speed pitch, in CCIW, maybe from like the aces, low
I'm
mid
like
sixties?
not 100% sure. I think low to mid 60s is pretty like if you're pitching low to mid 60s CCIW, that's pretty tough to compete with.
That's what Mike Aragon texted me because we were I was talking to this with Cam Miller the other night, and
Hmm.
he's like, "Oh, Elite Five, power, or Elite Power Five, maybe in the upper 60s." Um, because I asked Cam, I said, "Well, did you see obviously the Tennessee softball pitcher? I mean, you guys were in Tennessee when this." Or coming leaving Tennessee when it happened, but it's like Carlin Pickens, threw that 78 mile an hour. And I'm like, that's like they say it was equivalent of 110 fastball, 78 miles an hour from a 43-foot mound, like with rise, that's stupid. Like that's just ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And it just looked absolutely effortless. And that's the thing. That's the other
Yeah.
part. Like, so I don't know. I mean, trying to hit something like that, yeah, good luck.
It's honestly, you
So,
just have to stick your bat on and hope at that point.
yeah, absolutely.
That's what I
Just
would
kind of
do.
grip it and rip it, and
Yeah,
so
exactly.
see what you need. You need to go to those new Yankee, like bats that they've
Yes.
formed.
Yes.
God, those are odd looking, but I don't
I
know. I'll
know.
be curious to see what happens with the MLB and because I don't know. I keep seeing whether or not those are actually legal or not because of the taper, the bat, and so anyway.
Hmm.
But um, so you guys traveled down to Lake Wells after that. Down near Tampa, you took on Warner. Um, Now I was looking at some of the past schedules, and it looks like it was the first Florida trip for quite a few of the players. There's maybe only 4 or 5 that were probably freshmen, like Megan, Anna, Alyssa, I think Hannah, and Rosalind.
Hmm.
I think we're freshmen last time. The softball team went down to Florida. Um, took both games, pretty committedly. You left with a couple hits, got your first stolen bag of the year, an RBI, a run. Um, talk a little bit about just those games with Warner.
Going into the Warner games, I knew I had something to prove to myself and to the team because we haven't played as many games as a lot of the teams in the CCIW, and I've been kind of splitting time in left field. So I really wanted to go out there for these Warner games and really prove to everyone that I got what it takes to be out there. So I went in there with that mentality of just kind of be an animal in the box when I play left field, just do whatever it takes. And I think that really helped my confidence and it really helped me perform because I wasn't as stressed as I think I would have been in the past. I just kind of wanted to go out there and have fun and just show everybody I know what I'm doing. I go to practice every day of the week and I field ground balls and I can hit pitching and I can hit I can hit the line drives that I've been telling you I've been able to hit for the whole season. So it was a really great opportunity to go out there and show everybody that I can do what I say I can do. And it was really fun. The dugout was rocking. Lauren pitched great. McKalen pitched great in the second game. We had people hit home runs. Like that energy and that confidence was just super contagious, I think. And it was like a great game for everybody out there. And it was some of the most fun I've ever had playing softball in my life.
And um, it was so tough to watch that game because I don't know if you had, any family, but like, that were watching it, but it was like, we had issues with it going in and out. It seemed like, unless it was just me, but like I couldn't hear the announcer. It was like super low, and like my feed kept going in and out constantly, and it would like go dark, go black, and then would like freeze. And the next thing you know, it would show like, you know, a bunch of girls were running around. And it's like, what is going on? So it sucks 'cause I didn't get a chance to really watch much of it because the feed was so bad, and I was like, um,
Yeah.
but then so I just ended up watching the stats a little bit, but they seem to be delayed as well. So I don't know, must have had an internet issue or something. But it sucks 'cause I was like, oh man, 8-1, 16-4. Like I would have loved to have seen that. That'd been awesome. But so well, now do you by chance have your glove with you?
I do. I actually have both of them from what was it? My sophomore year. I don't know why it took me that long. I have my sophomore year one. This is the one I've been using like the most often. Um, because it's pretty broken in already. But it has my last name and then my number right there. Um, then I actually didn't put anything on the inside that year. Kind of boring. Then it might be hard to see, but on the inside it says Sko Vikes, even though I'm
Okay,
pretty sure
Skull
what the
Vikes,
actual saying is Skull.
Skull
But
Vikes.
it's
Yep.
we always on the team we always say like just SKO, so I put that in there. And then my one from this year, I did the lighter color because
See, I like
Marley did
that.
hers the lighter color, and I was like,
Yeah.
it looks so good. I was like, I gotta get one. So my teammates call me Gaddy because my last name is Gad. So I put that on the outside this time. Then on the inside, it's a little horseshoe, and it says "Rub here for good luck" because I'm a little superstitious, and I thought I would like having something in there like that.
Now, what do you have do you have something on the inside of the glove where your hand goes in? Did you have anything in there at
Oh
all?
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I do. It says "Have fun."
Okay, okay.
Sometimes I think I get a little too stressed out, so just looking in there, just remembering, just have fun. You're out here with your friends. You're playing the sport that you love. Just relax and have fun with it. It just always reminds me to take a deep breath and calm down.
So superstitious, like what are some of the superstitions that that maybe you have or you think about all the time?
Um, well, I have, if my hair is in a ponytail and I'm like on it, or the team is winning, even if like my hair is completely falling in front of my face, I don't redo it. That's the good luck ponytail. Um, when I get into the box, I guess that this one isn't as much of a superstition as it is a routine, but I tap my back foot 3 times on the ground, and then I tap the corner of the each corner of the plate, and then I look at my bat, and then I get ready to go. That's another one of my weird little ones. I don't like to tie my shoes sometimes. I don't know. I don't like to mess with anything that I have on, or like who I'm standing next to in the dugout. I try not to change that if we're on a roll.
Yeah.
Just weird little things like that.
Oh god. There are times where like especially if I'm doing something, I'll be watching, an away game at work or and like something's happening, like I just won't like leave my seat. I'm like, well, I need to go use the restroom or something, but I can't. So as I don't want to screw this
Exactly.
up and it's gonna be on me. Um, do you have like any like pre-game like rituals that you do when you get ready?
Honestly, not really. A lot of the times I'm pretty slow getting off the bus. I don't really know why. I'm usually the last one off, so I'm always in a rush. So even if I did have time to even if I did have a pregame ritual, I don't even think I would have time to do it.
I like it. So tap 3 times, your back foot, touch the front left,
hmm
get your bat, ready to rock and roll. I like it.
Yeah.
Um, now, so so you play left field and the DP role. Now, um, when you're in that DP role, are you mostly batting for the pitcher? Or are you kind of flexing like into other, positions kind of around the field? Like, how are you kind of working into that role?
Um, let me think. When I'm the DP, it's a little stressful, honestly, just because it's like this is really like let's say I have a bad at bat. Usually I'll think to myself, oh, I can just go out into the field and make a good catch or make the routine plays, and it'll kind of balance it out. But in the DP role, you don't have that, so I think it's a little bit more stressful. But I just go in there when I'm only hitting, and I think to myself like, you really got to focus in and do what you need to do in this role and at this time, and that kind of like alleviates a little bit of that stress. But usually I'm just thinking like, if there's a runner on third, you're hitting behind that runner. You're hitting everything to the right side. So I usually just try to hit everything to the right side and do that.
Now, because um, because the DP role is a little bit different, right, than like the designated hitter in baseball, right? Because they can also play a
I think so.
field position. I think there's
All
a
that
few
kind of gets
different
a little
things they can do.
confusing.
Yeah. I was trying to because I saw it and I was like, so I just did a quick Google search because I haven't really been exposed to a ton of softball. Um, so I was trying to learn a little bit about it, and yeah, I know there's a little bit of difference within the DH spot, um, but as I was like doing some of that research, I found an old recruiting profile of yours. Um, you
Oh
know,
no.
um, I found a few like videos you and some indoor complex hitting taking a bunch of balls and doing a bunch of BP work and your personal statement said you were a utility player but your focus is on shortstop and third base. So now you're more probably left field with that DP role. you know how did the change in the position to outfield kind of come about?
It really started in high school. I went to Lockport, and Lockport is a very competitive school, and there's a ton of girls that go to Lockport and make the team. And we had a lot of shortstop, second baseman, and third baseman who I really wasn't going to play over. But my coach wanted to keep me on the team, and she knew that, I had value. It just might not have been at shortstop or second base. So she moved me to the outfield. And in high school, I really only played the outfield. And in travel, I kind of mixed between playing infield and outfield. And then eventually one day I was just like, just put me only in the outfield. I really like it out there. I feel comfortable. I feel like I'm really using all my skills to the best of my ability. And I think that started like junior year of high school is when I transitioned to only being an outfielder. And somehow I still got recruited to Augie, even though all my all my videos were as a middle infielder, but I never played infield. For Augie once, I don't think I fielded a ground ball in like 4 years in the infield, and honestly, I don't really want to. So I'm really glad John didn't look at those skill videos and put me in the infield because it would have been rough for me.
Now, did you start when you came to Augie? Were you center field first, and then you moved to left?
It was a mix of both. I played
Nice.
center and left, depending on the day.
Okay. I was trying to dig through some old like box scores and well, speaking of social media though, as I was doing my digging, the Viking Softball X account, they have those softball player cards. So I want to walk through yours a bit, and maybe have you expand on, some of the individual answers maybe you've given a little bit, and then we'll have a little fun here towards the end. So your hometown was it Orland Park? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Mhm.
then you went to Lockport. So like what was your path? Tell me a little bit about Orland Park, and then how did your path get to Augie? Because he didn't look at any of your infield stuff, so apparently. So
Yeah. Um, Orland Park is, I would say it's like 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the traffic, away from Chicago. So I'm pretty close to the city. Orland is, it's like really close to a bunch of other small towns. Um, Orland has like a really big mall and stuff too, so I like going there a lot. But it's there's a bunch of super competitive softball high schools in the area, and my house is on the border of like two towns basically. So luckily I went to Lockport because Lockport has a really good softball program, but I'm really close to Sandburg High School, who has a pretty good softball program too. Um, but Lockport was a huge high school. I think my graduating class had like 900 kids in it.
wow.
So I think when I was looking for colleges in my head, I was like, man, I want to go to a big school. I don't even know if I want to play softball anymore. But then COVID happened, and then we didn't get to play softball anymore. And that really shifted my mentality going into the junior and senior year of recruiting, where I was like, I need to go to a school where I play softball because I love playing softball. And if I didn't do it those last 4 years, I know I would regret it and I know I would miss it. So I started to look at smaller D3 schools where I knew I'd be getting a really good education and also be able to play softball and still have a social life. So D3 was definitely the route that I wanted to go to at that point. And one of my dad's really good friends, his son came to Augustana and played on the lacrosse team. And my dad was like, "You got to go on a visit to Augie. You got to go on a visit." And I kept telling him, "Well, it's only 2 hours away from home. I don't want to be so close. I want to go somewhere super far away." But one day I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just go. So I went to the school and I visited it, and it was like gorgeous. And I really liked the size of the classes and how close everything was on campus, and not having to, take a bus to my class is super nice. And then I did an overnight with some of the girls here, and I got to know the team and what like the school was actually like without my dad there. Like, we went to a basketball game, I got to meet some of the other girls' friends, I met all the girls on the team, and that moment I was like, yeah, this is the spot that I want to go. This is the place that I'm really going to thrive academically, socially, and in softball. And even though we've had crazy, like, coaching changes and just super hectic time, like, I wouldn't trade my time at Augie for the world. Like, if I could go back 3 years in the past, knowing everything that I knew was going to happen, I would still stay here.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I couldn't be, more happy with, what they've done with the coaching staff, and I see Coach Nelson coming over from Rockford, and everybody he's added to his staff, and um, you know, ton of the great success, you ladies are having is awesome, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, y'all are making it happen. So that's awesome. That's great to hear. And um, you know, you also chose like English education.
Hmm.
Did you know coming into Augie like you wanted to go down that career path, or how did you come to English education?
I knew going into Augie that I wanted to do something with English because I've always just been really good at it, and I love to read and to talk about what I read, and I like to write papers, which makes me sound kind of crazy because no one likes to write a paper, but I like them. They're fun. So I knew I wanted to do something with English, but the more I thought about it, I was like, I just don't know what I would do with just an English degree. So I started to think about teaching more and more, and I'm a huge talker. I cannot shut my mouth. So, and then I started to do more thinking. I was like, man, like I like to talk, I like to read, I like to talk about what I read. I love to be around other people and do things that like aren't super predictable. And teaching really started to come to my mind because I would get to do all the things that I love with English and try to like spread that to other people and help other people and be in a career that really makes an impact on other people's lives. And I would get summers off, which is really nice too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's like your favorite thing to read?
Honestly, anything you put in front of me. People ask me all the time, especially being in English classes, what's your favorite book? What do you like to read? Anything you put in front of me, I'll read it.
I like it. See, man, you know what? That was probably the hardest transition for me. Like I would read and I'd fall asleep. Like that I would struggle. Um yeah, so I was nowhere near going to be ever in English education. So, um now when you want to go the teaching route, are you wanting to stay like high school type level or
Yeah, I think I would do high school just because I would also like to coach softball, and being in high school and teaching older kids would give me the opportunity to kind of dig into books the way I like to discuss them. And, the kids are a little bit more mature. So, as much as people don't think high schoolers are easy to work with, like they are, they're really not that bad as they're not as bad as everyone says they are. And I would get the chance to still be around softball, even though not playing it anymore, and that would be really nice.
um one of the other things you'd put on there is your favorite artist still Lana Del Rey?
Hmm.
So what's your favorite song from Lana Del Rey, and like what is it about her that you like?
I just really like the way her voice sounds. It like she has such a mix of songs. A lot of it is kind of sad, but you'll hear some like hype songs so I can listen to it when I'm trying to focus on my homework or when I'm trying to go to bed, but I can also listen to it like before a game and get hyped up. I would say my favorite song right now is Get Free. Um, it's on, I honestly don't remember the name of the album, but that's probably my favorite. But I just love listening to her like all the time.
Now, have you seen her in concert before?
No, I wanted to so bad. All my friends went to Lollapalooza, and it was kind of crazy, but they waited at the stage that she was going to perform on because she was the last person all day. It was like hours and hours. Like they didn't go to the bathroom, they didn't get food. They just slowly shoved their way closer and closer to the front so they could see her super up close and like personal. I couldn't go because I had work, but I really, really wanted to.
Well, you did the right thing. You went to work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
now the other thing you put on there was your role model. You said were your parents. So, tell me a little bit about why they've been maybe so influential.
My parents have always been with me every single step of the way, no matter what I've been doing. I can mess up countless times. I can lose something. I could get a failing grade. I could call them in the middle of the night crying because I forgot to do an assignment or I am stressed out about softball. And no matter what, they'll tell me it's going to be okay. They'll help me in any way they can. They just know how to support me and they tell me what I need to hear every single time and never fail to make me feel better about whatever's going on in my life. I've had some essays that I've been writing recently and I just can't look at it anymore and I'll ask my mom or my dad to read it for me and they'll do it no matter what time of the day it is, no matter what they're doing. I know that they're going to find the time to sit down and read it with me and tell me what I need to fix and what sounds good. Or sometimes they'll send me money for groceries when I call and complain that I'm starving and there's nothing to eat and I don't want to cook dinner because I just got back from practice. And they'll send me money and they'll just really be there for me no matter what I need. And it's just, they're my biggest support system. I definitely couldn't have done anything that I've done without them.
That's awesome. Now, I mean, you did say a failing grade. I mean, come on, you're four-time dean list. I mean, failing grade, that might be a little stretch. I don't know.
Okay, maybe just like maybe like a C or something.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I would have been happy. My first year, I'd have been happy with C's. So let's put it that way. So, um, now your favorite emojis, salute, the fish, and then like smiley face, rosy cheeks. Why did you pick those? Because I asked Marley, and she's like, I don't know. I just picked fire, and then I did three of them. Um, so what's the salute fish, smiley face with the rosy cheeks all about?
Well, the salute, I send that like I almost use it as kind of a period sometimes when I'm sending out my texts. And recently, I don't know when this started, but whenever I'm in the outfield and somebody will give me a direction, or they're like, "Hey, she hit to the left side last time," or "Hey, be ready out there," I'll go, "Aye, aye, Captain," and I'll give them a salute. So that one's been big in the recently used emoji section. My favorite animal is a fish. Um, so I just put the fish in there because I couldn't think of another emoji, and I was like, well, I love fish so much that I'll put them in there. People should know that about me. And then the rosy cheek one, I just put in there. I don't know, maybe I smile a lot or something.
um, well, I know on last year's card you described yourself as energetic, and I think that's to a T. So I don't think we need to probably talk about that one, but what's maybe one thing though that people may not know about you or maybe wouldn't expect?
I used to be really, really shy. Before I think honestly it was like before COVID, I was really like terribly introverted. I did not like to go, I wouldn't order my own food at like a restaurant or I if they messed up my Starbucks order, I wouldn't go up there and tell them it was wrong. I didn't like to talk in class. But then after COVID, I think something switched where I was like, just interact with as many people as possible. So now I try to be pretty bubbly. I try to talk as much as I can. Honestly, you can't get me to shut up now. So, but I think people wouldn't really expect that.
I like it. I like it. Now, is your favorite show still Friends?
It's one of them. I also really like New Girl,
Okay.
and I just started watching Game of Thrones, and that's definitely made it up in the ranks of my favorite shows.
All right. Well, I was banking that maybe your favorite show was still potentially Friends is up there. So I have some questions. We're gonna play a little game.
Okay.
Um, so let's start off with that was on your card, I think, last year. So I'm like, you know what? It's a
Yeah.
year reserved. It's got to still be up there. It's got to still be up there. So,
It is. It is.
which character do you relate to the most on Friends and why?
I I want to say Joey, just because I think he's just a pretty funny guy. Sometimes he doesn't always have his life together, but which I definitely don't have my life together all the time. And he just kind of is, always there, always laughing, always funny, always having a good time. So I would say I try to be like Joey most of the time, and that's who I would hope I would be the closest to.
And you're not supposed to have your life together. You're a junior in college. Like it took me a couple years after college to be like, all right, I've got to get this life thing, situated here. And so, plenty of time to be an adult. Don't worry about that.
That makes me feel better.
Um, um, and I mean, gosh, I'll be 43 this year, and it's like sometimes I still feel I'm like, we'll see. Now, is there a quote from Friends that maybe you find yourself saying the most often?
This one's kind of a weird one, but we put on friends for my dog when we leave him home alone so he's not just like sitting in the house alone. And for whatever reason, the episode where they play like the cups game is always on in my house. So my family, one of our like biggest lines that we say to each other all the time, we'll just randomly say to each other, "That's a full cup." All the time. So it's like completely random and it has no meaning, but that's a big one for us for some reason.
I love it. It's funny, like because The Office is one of my favorite shows, and actually, I like became one of my favorite shows while I was at Augie. So when you're like, "Oh, I'm superstitious," I just want to be like, I'm a little stitious. Like Michael Scott would always say.
Yeah.
Um, Now on the field, would you say you are more of like a Monica, more like super competitive, or more like Phoebe, kind of enjoying the vibe, kind of, in the game, just, you know, just being.
ideally, ideally I would be Phoebe. However, I am 100% Monica. I do not like to lose. And sometimes like even at practice we'll just be scrimmaging and someone will make like they'll call a strike when it was clearly a ball and I'll just get so mad and I'll catch myself and I'll be like, Emily, you need to calm down. Like, it's not that big of a deal. So I'm definitely a Monica, super competitive.
So now I'm going to ask you to pinpoint some of the girls from the softball team. Um, so let's have some fun with this one. So if if the softball team were the Friends crew, let's start off with who would be Ross. Kind of brainy, like detail oriented, sometimes
Maya
slightly
Veal.
awkward. Maya Veal.
Maya Veal.
Um, Now you said yourself was Joey, but we got to pick someone else. So who else would be maybe Joey? Like charming, kind of laid back. Maybe I know like he loved food. Um, who would be the other Joey? Maybe
I would say Lily Burton.
Lily Burton. Now Rachel, stylish, kind of independent, determined, kind of that like natural leader.
Um, I feel like Jordan Faust kind of gives me that vibe.
Jordan Faust. Now, lastly, I mean Chandler. Sorry, sarcastic, quick wit, dry humor.
Oh, that's a hard one. Um, I kind of see a little bit of Marley Beam, but also sometimes Emma Evans,
Okay.
a little bit of Tegan Nees sometimes too. There's a few Chandlers on the team, I would say.
Few Chandlers. I like it. I like it. Well, well, that's a good spot to wrap up. And yeah, I mean, I was hoping you still liked Friends because as soon as
I
I
do.
read
I
that, I
do.
was like, gosh, I would love to see how you would pinpoint the other girls on the team and who you think would kind of start to line that up. So, but no, I mean, tough week ahead of you. Heading up to Storm Lake for a doubleheader against Buena Vista, and then hosting. We talked about Whitewater at home on Friday. So I just hope the weather can warm
Mhm.
up a little bit because you
I
know
hope so too.
it's like summer wants to be here, certainly it doesn't, and it's like, well, you get some flurries and some rain, and it doesn't quite know what it wants to do yet. So, but no, so certainly good luck, this week. And I appreciate you joining me here tonight and 51 minutes. Man, that's rivaling the longest. That's rivaling the longest, I think.
I
So,
told you I'm a talker.
absolutely. Well, it's been a ton of fun. Been a pleasure having you on. So again, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.